she's very ill. So she won't be here tonight. And we're just waiting for Deandra. And I have a feeling Deandra will just kind of pop in when she can.
Yeah. I could send her a quick note too. Yeah. And what about you, Beverly? Do you have any projects that are your favorites that you worked on?
Yeah, I have quite a few projects, but my there's two really ones that really stood out to me. In 2017, I got to go to Belgium for APTN as a VJ and spend time with like all the veterans and stuff, but I got to meet a lot of Indigenous veterans, and I got to go see how the Indigenous veterans are so honored there. Like I had no idea, like they're revered, and like Francis Pagamagabo has his own section of a museum. Like it was amazing. And that was really special to me. And I also did the Saugeen old timers hockey team. They had a display at the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto, and they phoned me up and they're like, we're gonna go see our stuff, you should come in and film it. So I did. We showed up, they didn't even call ahead. Like they have cameras, like 4 different outlets and like 20 people, and the museum's like, what's going on? It was awesome. But spending the day with those guys and hearing the old hockey stories, it was amazing.
Right on. That's so cool. That's an idea that I always wanted to do a documentary on the Saugeen Hall of Fame, all those guys too. That's a cool story.
Yeah, they were awesome. That could be a movie.
Yeah.
Like just their stories and reliving that time. It sounded like it was an awesome time.
Right on. That's cool. Awesome.
Did you just get that puppy?
Yeah. A few days ago.
Where? I didn't
What's
see
his name? Or her name?
The wife were driving, coming home, so we just saw her on the side of the road. And by herself, so okay, they all poor little guys, freezing, it was cold, they were just cold, and we just brought her home and stayed with us. So we just adopted her. That was like 4 days ago. Yeah.
Oh,
what a sweetheart.
We put it online, whose dog is anyway, but nobody responded. So okay, we'll keep her for now. I got 2 cats, by the way, too.
how do they like the puppy? Are they getting along?
They're getting along now. Yeah. At first, the cats didn't like her. Well, we have one old cat. There's a big tomcat. He doesn't like to be bothered at all. And we also have maybe a 6-month-old cat that's just crazy, spinny cat. It plays with anything, everything. He's all over the place. So both of them, they come around and they're getting along now.
That's good. How are you, Alice?
I'm good. I had a long day, so I had a nap.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen all the time. I'm just starting my day.
Oh, that sounds nice. Well, I guess we'll kind of just jump in. I did send Deandra a message, so maybe she'll join us later. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick check-in and see how everybody's doing, and yeah, maybe we'll just do a quick check-in, and then maybe if you can share one thing from the last session, like something that you took away from that session, I guess. So maybe I'll just go in a circle here, and maybe we'll start with Stephen.
Well, I looked it over about what you sent. The thing is, I didn't know where to start, so I just put everything in point form what I was looking at, what you sent. From there, what else have I been doing? I've been doing some writing still, so I'm writing this script right now. I'm doing. It's called Black Ice 2. It's kind of like a sequel to the first one we did about 5 years ago. That's like a paranormal Bigfoot, Witku story. It's a dark story. I didn't use my imagination for that part. How to how am I going to play it out? So now, right now, I'm going through the process of looking it over, cutting out some bits, make it shorter, changes the dialogue. So that's where I'm right now. So hopefully I could see this coming to life. Hopefully I always thought it was maybe the fall where there's less mosquitoes because it's like when you go in a forest and bush and you shoot in the dark and everything. But the mosquitoes here are like big as dragonflies. Put it that way. So we got to work around that because that's the hard part. But usually around the fall it gets a little bit colder. And okay, maybe that'll be a good spot. So so that's where I'm right now, writing something new. Oh, by the way, yeah, I got another news. My other World War II film, I just got an email a few days ago. It got accepted into the Germany International Film Festival.
Oh, right
Oh,
on.
wow.
That's
Yeah,
exciting.
right. Yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah. So I gotta see what happens there. They're gonna send me some more news about it later. I don't know when, so I gotta be patient about that. I just got another email, a text message from from Santa Fe International Film Festival.
Mhm.
A guy emailed me, say if you want to put it in there. What else? Does his name Gary Farmer ring a bell?
Mm-hmm,
Is he an actor?
mm-hmm,
I know he played a movie someplace.
yeah.
Geez, I know. I seen him. I seen a movie. I seen this. What's that movie called again? Stars Adam Beach
Uh,
and the other guy.
yeah, Ryan Black.
What's the guy with
Oh,
the
yeah.
glasses? Victor. No,
Oh,
not
smoke signals.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thomas. Thomas.
Thomas, yeah.
So he messaged me that Gary Farmer. What's that name? Sounds so familiar. Huh? So I messaged him back, and I said, okay. And I said, "Are you Gary Farmer, the actor?" But I'm still waiting for him to email me back. So yeah, that was this afternoon when I was at work. Got his text, and start thinking there. Oh, the name sounds so familiar. So I looked it up. Oh, that's that guy. Okay. So I didn't
That's
know he had a Facebook. Something.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love him in I love watching Reservation Dogs. And he's hilarious in that one. Oh, that's great. That's awesome news. Congratulations. That's exciting. Yeah. Awesome. I noticed Deandra joined us.
Yeah.
Hello. We're just going around and doing a little check-in with everybody, and people are also sharing one thing that they took away from the last session. So, but we'll give you a minute to settle in, Deandra, and we'll just keep going. So Alice, you want to just share how was your week? Any updates or?
Yeah, I started playing with that the vision plan that you gave
Oh,
us. And then
awesome.
yeah, I started and then I did some more today.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good.
awesome.
So it's been fun.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, it's nice to kind of put your ideas, like all of it up here, and then lay it out, kind of something to follow and kind of, revisit every now and then. So that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have anything else, but how was your week in general, I guess?
Oh, my week was good. I'm working on a screen script, right? I'm switching between French and English. I'm not always sure what word to use. So I'm writing right now, and I'm also in post-production for my first documentary. So I've been busy and it's been fun.
That's
Yeah.
great to hear. Hold on. Thank you. Okay, Beverly. How's your
Oh, my week's been a little hectic just because I'm preparing for a shoot. But from last week, I got like, yeah, the sheets that you gave, and like thinking about like who's your audience and that kind of stuff. That was really, really helpful to kind of give me direction on the projects that I do want to work on. And it helped like me thinking of like the more marketing and like business side of things, because you get so lost in creative and research sometimes that you forget that you have to like look after the other thing too. So it got me really more thinking about it in a business way. So that was really helpful to kind of shift me a little.
Awesome. That's great to hear. Okay, Deandra, are you with us or settled in, or should we just keep going?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here. I just kind of messy background, so I'm
No
gonna
worries.
first. My week was good. I was thinking a lot about, committing time to being creative from our conversation last week. And so I was thinking maybe I just set up my screens every Friday and do like headshots or get people to come down and just practice that way too. I feel like that'd be a good start. Yeah. And but week's been good. I'm just doing lots of work and staying busy with graphic design and other work with SEO. I do other work with SEO, and so
Awesome. That's
yeah.
great. Thank you. Arlie, do you want to share? How was your week?
It was busy. It was a busy week. We did a tax workshop last night that was awesome. Taxes apparently are super fun and exciting and entertaining. And I'm not even being facetious. That's true. The guy is great. I have been looking at my grant options and just working on some writing pieces. So the goal is to write a book for now. And then, so yeah, I've been putting just different things together for myself personally, creatively, writing wise, and then doing all the workshops, seeing all your faces. It's awesome.
That's great. Awesome. You're writing your own book? That's so cool.
Knock on wood. Yeah, hopefully. I didn't say this last week, but my background is actually as a film technician. I worked as a Best Boy Electric and a gaffer and a DOP for 14 years. And then I worked in the story department for a couple of years on a TV series. And then I left the industry and went to the Winnipeg Film Group, where I worked training young filmmakers as technicians and to make films. And during that, I'm also an artist, a painter and a musician and a filmmaker. So I have a bunch of skills, but nothing that is sort of production company oriented, like in a bigger picture sort of thing. It's more just personal projects. Like I do little films, art things. I just do art.
That's awesome. Thanks, Arlie. And thanks for putting this together. Arlie's the one behind the scenes making it all happen. So we're super lucky. Creative Manitoba is lucky to have you.
Oh.
So I guess I'll just share a little bit. My week was good. I'm just as well as just finishing up post on a feature documentary titled Coming Home. So we're just like trying to get everything all sort of finished, like for the fine cut. So that's been intense. I have to go to Saskatoon tomorrow to basically interview somebody, like just to have them fill in a few sections in the documentary that were like missing. So in and out from Saskatoon tomorrow, and then I'm going to be going to Thompson next week to film something. So just getting ready for that. And yeah, just a lot of production, different productions going on. So it's been a busy week, but I'm looking forward to having a little bit of time off on the weekend and do some ceremonies. And yeah, so that's my update.
How do you manage to do all the work that you do? Because you have the production company, you're always busy doing something, you're always traveling to film something, and you have a family. 'Cause
Yeah,
I think talking about that sort of work-life balance is really important when you're starting a production company.
for sure.
So
And
how
that's
do you manage that?
a whole session on its own. But it's I mean, well, one, I have amazing partner who's also an entrepreneur, so he understands, and where we both are able to connect on that level, so we kind of balance each other out, like, and with our schedules being flexible is really nice. So like, for instance, like I'm going to be gone tomorrow and most of Saturday, so today I spent the day just with my daughter. She came to work with me for a while. So it's nice to have that flexibility, I guess. And just, yeah, the flexibility is huge. So being your own boss helps. Being able to kind of create my own schedule. And then, yeah, so anytime like I do have to travel, I always make sure that I'm taking some time off to fill, with family time. So that's kind of my main thing. And then just trying to incorporate family anywhere I can, I guess, with work, like I said, like bringing my daughter with me as much as I can. And yeah, like if I do go on bigger trips, sometimes I can even take them depending on what it is and what I'll be doing. So that's always nice. But yeah, I think for me, it was also setting aside time. So for instance, like for my mental health, like working out is a big thing for me. So I schedule it in, like that's part of my schedule. And I make sure that I do not, like, I don't start until after I finish my workout, and I make sure not to ever like schedule anything. I mean, sometimes obviously sometimes I can't help it, but I make sure to schedule in that self-care time. So there's no if buts about it. It's like that's something that's a part of my schedule that I have to, like, people that I work with need to understand. I just say I'm in a meeting then, just so that that's like scheduled there, and nothing can get in the way of that, because that's what really helps me and keeps me, balance is having that self-care. So that's kind of what I've learned over the years. And then I also like learned my own patterns of like what times of the years are more harder for me. So I have two times each year where I'm like, at capacity, and where I notice I take on too much, but it's always like the year end, March 31st. A lot of the times is a huge one for people, because that's when a lot of organizations have to spend their money. So then they're like, oh, we should do a video. So then we get really super busy. And then also in September for like Orange Shirt Day, we get a lot of work, and that one is a lot of emotional work. So I'm already recognized, I guess, times of years that I know where I need to really focus on self-care, and then balance and take time off after that to make sure I could take care of myself. But then also having an amazing team of people that I work with. So, and then communication with them, and, balancing that. So like we have tons of shoots happening. So I go on a few of them. I don't go on all of them. I used to try to go on everything, but now I have a team where I send them out to do things. So we all kind of carry the load together and take turns. Like, we have people going up to the Paw, Thompson, I'm going up to Thompson, Churchill, like, so people kind of go everywhere. And then we just all kind of share that responsibility and take turns so that we all can have that work-life balance. So yeah, having a good team is really, really helpful. Yeah. So that's a little bit kind of how I've been able to do it, but it took many years to learn, because prior to having my daughter, she's 5 now, but prior to that, I was like a workaholic. I was always working. I just enjoy it, right? I really like what I do. So I had to learn how to say no. That was hard.
Yeah.
And I'm still learning how to say no. Because you want to do everything too, like especially when people come to you and they're like, oh, I really want to do that. You know, it's hard to say no to everybody. So I've learned how to say no to certain things, or else bring on other people to be able to help them and, you know, give opportunities to other people, like for them to take on and me to just kind of oversee, and then allow for those opportunities to happen with other people. So yeah, it's a little bit about my work-life balance. So I'm sure we all have our own coping mechanisms of how to balance everything, because life is just can be so busy when we're trying to, you know, pursue our careers, but also our creative, like nurture our creativeness, and then our families. Like there's so much. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I think it's good. Like you saying that you identify, you know, periods where it can be hard and things like that. I think that's work that maybe I need to do.
Yeah, being just self-aware, I guess. And yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Does anybody else have anything they want to jump in with just work-life balance? Because I'm sure like all of us, like we struggle with it, but we overcome it. Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do today, I have a little agenda. I'm just going to share my screen here. All right, so we did our group check-in and a little bit of a takeaway, a recap on last class. So last week, I'm just going to go quickly through this, but we really learned about, or we did a little bit of a vision mapping. So we kind of talked about, you know, setting our goals, like where are we now? Where do we see ourselves in a year? Where do we see ourselves beyond that 3 years? It's really up to you how you want to look at that and set that for yourself, and what actions plans you need to put in place. So looking at like the business side of production. So we looked at business and finance, marketing, what are our sales, what do we need in order to create that with our technology, and then who are we serving, like who is our community, who is our team. So there's just a few different pillars that we looked at to consider if we want to grow a production company. These are definitely things that we need to always be thinking of, and have a plan of what are our next steps, and sort of know where you want to go with each of these and with your company. And then we also did a little bit about developing your production company. So identifying answers, some of these answers to help clarify what your mission is. And this is really important. If you're really serious about having a production company, you need to be able to answer these things, and especially what we're going to go in today is pitching. So these are really important to kind of identify before going into like preparing a pitch, whether it's pitching your production company, or else if you're pitching an idea as well. Like we're going to kind of cross-reference a lot of that when it comes to pitching a production company or business idea versus pitching a story, because a lot of it overlaps. So we're going to kind of review both of those areas. So these are really good to ask yourself and sort of identify your why, like why are you a storyteller? Why do you want to be a storyteller? Why do you want to tell these stories? You know, what is the problem you're solving by telling these stories? Why do you need to tell these stories? Who is your audience, and what will the impact be? So those are really important questions. And then we also went over some of the business legal structures. So again, if you want to be a producer, you know, that is a business, you will be a business. So what does that look like for you? Whether it's a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. And if you are doing large film productions, you will need that corporation for protection, liability reasons, to protect you, to protect your crew, to protect your project. So those are really important things to know and to understand before even, you know, developing your story, or like when you start pitching, whoever you're pitching is going to expect you to come to develop this business. Like you have to register it. It has to be a corporation. So there's a lot of legal things that aren't exactly fun unless you're willing to get a producer to do that for you. Then you don't have to worry about that if you're just focused on the creative side of things. But if you do want to be a producer on your own film, those are some things that you do need to know. And then, of course, financing, bookkeeping, and accounting is huge with a production company or any kind of business. Even with your film productions, you more likely you can hire a bookkeeper, or unless it's a smaller film where you're doing it yourself. These are important things to know just on how to, track your receipts and have that spreadsheet, and or else using a certain online service to keep track of everything and know what's going in, know what's going out, and having everything sort of in written form, like all your papers together. Grants and supports. So we talked a little bit about some of the grants, fundings, the loans, there's both myself and Arlie have lists that we put together that we'll review today. They're pretty amazing with all of the resources that are available, within Winnipeg, Manitoba, and across Canada. So I'm excited to kind of go over that list with you guys today. And then pitching competitions, we're kind of going to go we're going to go into pitching today is really what today's agenda looks like. So again, there's pitching your company or like your business, and then there's pitching your film idea. I wanted to share a lookbook as well, like just showing different ways that you can pitch. And then we're going to go over some resources. I know that just from what I asked you guys, like, what are you wanting to learn? Like, these were like some of the things that stood out, and film distribution was one thing that we'll briefly kind of look at as well. And then the last one, I'm trying to move this thing out of the way. Oh, open conversation. Yeah, open discussion where we can just ask questions and learn different things from each other. So that's our agenda today. And so we'll just go right into it. With the first part of it is perfecting your pitch. So this could mean different, like you can do a pitch. You could pitch anything. You can pitch whether it's your production company, or if you're pitching your film, it could be a scripted, it could be a documentary, it could be a TV series, a web series. I'm going to try to cover these two different forms of pitching. And like I said, they kind of overlap a little bit. So there's going to be a lot of similarities to the two different styles of pitching. But yeah, we'll kind of talk about both of that. So first thing to ask yourself is, what are you pitching? Who are you pitching to is super important, because you need to know your audience, whether it's a story that you're pitching. Who is your audience that you're pitching to, whether you're going to, a live pitch where you're pitching, in a crowd, or to judges. Are you pitching to different investors that might be giving you money to make your film, or money to develop your business, or to expand your production company? As well, if you have an idea that you wanted to pitch to broadcasters or funders to make your films, you have to know, who are they? Who do they serve? Who is their audience? All of these things are so important, because if you go, say, to, I'm just going to say the big Discovery or somebody, and you're trying to pitch a documentary that has nothing to do with the audience they serve, like that just doesn't look good for you. Like, you have to know who is the person that you're pitching and who is their audience. So researching that person that you're pitching is very, very important. So we're going to first start by going into pitching, like business pitching. And so I'm very familiar with pitching, because I've been pitching every year for the past 4 or 5 years. And basically for me, it was really to expand the production company, and to gain funds that can go towards expanding the production company, to, get a bigger space, to get extra equipment, like cameras and lights and everything we need to develop and to make our productions higher quality, because it's equipment is expensive, right? And so anytime I could find different opportunities to pitch who we are and what we're doing and why we need these resources, I would take advantage of every opportunity. So I've heard a lot of no's. I've been rejected a lot. And like, honestly, like that's just something that you learn to be okay with, is just, you know, trying again and trying again. That's one thing that I've always done, was just keep trying. So I'm going to show you one of the pitches that I've done. And so this was Powwow Pitch 2022. So they are a international online pitching competition for Indigenous entrepreneurs. So I pitched to them the first year during COVID that they went online. And so that was 2020, 21. Yeah. So that was in 2020. And so I did 2020, I did 2021, and then I did 2022, and I finally won the top pitch in 2022. So it took me 3 years, but I actually won $25,000. And so I was able to put that towards the production company and get more equipment, and also hire on additional staff to help on different productions. So we're going to watch this pitch, because generally with a pitch, depending on where you're pitching, it could be anywhere between a minute pitch to 2-minute pitch, up to 5 minutes, and maybe even beyond that. But usually, like, I think tops, you're going to get like 10 minutes, and that's with questions, because sometimes the people that you're pitching to will have a list of questions that they want you to answer after you do your pitch. But basically you have a time limit, and you have that amount of time to tell them who you are, what you're doing, what's the impact. So we're going to kind of go over all of that today in today's session. We're gonna watch this, and just let me know if you can hear it. If you can't, just please let me know.
Wujuu Anin, my name is Erica Daniels from Peguis First Nation, and I am the owner of Kijik Productions. Having this gift of being a storyteller and capturing and sharing the stories of my community through video is what inspired me to start this business in 2017. Our female Indigenous-led team are passionate filmmakers sharing unique perspectives through an authentic lens. We have produced award-winning documentary films, as well as a library of community and corporate videos for clientele that reach across Canada. We have been grateful to be recognized by the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business by receiving the Young Entrepreneur Award in 2021. And our mission is to utilize media and video to amplify Indigenous voices and those of underserved communities for cultural revitalization, education, and social change. We carry a unique ability to connect to the community we serve, learning the stories, and creating a healing medicine that is felt through each production. Currently, our existing contracts are through word of mouth and repeat clientele only. Our revenue has grown over 50% year over year since 2019, and we have recently seen a 133% growth in 2021, and our current capacity is maxed. So we aim to expand by hiring and training aspiring Indigenous filmmakers, purchasing high-grade video production equipment, and moving into a large studio to produce our films in-house and not have to outsource for space and equipment rentals. Having this large studio would also give us the opportunity to fulfill our dream of hosting ongoing training for Indigenous youth so that they can share their stories and the stories of their community. I believe that Creator has given us all a gift, and mine is to serve my community by documenting and sharing the important stories of our history, our culture, and values to inspire all as we move towards cultural revitalization. Thank you, Miigwech.
So that was the winning pitch for 2021. And I won out of 2,400 people across North America. Yeah, so 3 years. So I always laugh and say they're probably getting sick of seeing my face. So they're like, "Hey, just give it to her." So yeah, that was really awesome. Like I enjoy pitching. It's an adrenaline rush, and it's exciting, and sometimes you hear those no's, and I just learned, like, sometimes it's hard because you're investing so much you're putting everything into this pitch to, potentially hear no, even after all the hard work, and like you really feel that you deserve this, and then to be hearing those no's, like it can be hard. So that's something you kind of have to prepare yourself for, is to hear those no's and how to just kind of cope with that, right? But then always just give it another shot, because Like, just don't give up on your idea. And this goes for whether it's your business or your story. Don't give up on it. You know, just take the what they're saying to you and put that into consideration of how to better your pitch, how to better your story, and always, you know, keep going to people and share your pitch with them and ask them, like, you know, for their, don't go to your family or your friends though, go to other people who like your mentors, because they're going to be honest with you. So having that feedback and that constructive criticism is really, really helpful, and it's going to benefit you. So, yeah, so I wanted to share that, because now we're going to kind of go into the, what that pitch, what that entails and how I kind of did that. Yeah.
I have a question. So when you were doing that pitch, when you're getting ready for that, was the entire pitch just the video, or was there also documentation or applications that had to be filled out as well?
For this particular pitch competition, no, all you have to do is send a video. And the first, like, some of the, I can't remember, I think it's the first pitch you get, you just submit a video of your pitch, and then they'll tell you if you make it or not to the first round of pitching. And then they go to like the second round, and then the third round is the final round, so the finale. So you kind of go by, they, you know what I mean, they kind of cut people as you get further to the top.
Yes.
But this one is, the powwow pitch is really is easier to be a part of, but there is other ones out there that will require you to have an application, like the forum. The forum is a national business organization, so they help, I think it's women across Canada. So I pitched to that one as well. It was very similar to what powwow pitch was, but there was a lot more like application that I needed to go through. But it's
Right.
basically, it's not very hard. It's not very hard at all. They make it quite easy for us to be able to enter these, as long as you kind of have, you know, all of this, like what's here on the screen in order, then you're fine. Yeah. And so so there was that powwow pitch, the forum pitch. I also submitted to the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business, which is a business award, but you pitch again and then you can win another grant funding from that one. We'll go over those as well once we get to the resource part. So elements of a good pitch. So opening with a strong opening. Sometimes there's many different ways to do this. But basically it's like a hook, or you can tell a story, just to kind of, you know, ease them in, and you're not just like, hey, this is me, this is what I'm doing. Like, you can really do it either way. There's no like set structure for this. These are just ideas of how you can develop your pitch. So depending on what you're pitching, right? It's like if you want to start with a story about, you know, why you're here and like what made you the storyteller, you can talk about, you know, what your passion is for storytelling, something to just for them to get to know you on another level, I guess, and have that personal connection. So you're kind of hooking them in to bring them on this journey of what you're here to do. So yeah, that strong opening is very important. And then you can go into, how is your company or your project, your story, how is it solving a problem? You know, why is it needed? What is the void? What are you trying to fill with this company? Or what are you trying to fill with the story? Like, why is it needed? Is very important, because, you know, like for Kijik, what that pitch, like what we were needed is because there's not that many Indigenous female people that are storytellers that are out there doing this work. There's not that many people that are telling Indigenous stories. So that was the void, right? We were a female-led Indigenous production company telling Indigenous stories, which is still very new. You know, a lot of people are still telling our stories for us, and we have to stop that, because we are fully capable to tell our own stories. And so that was what the problem was, and that's what we were coming in to fulfill, was that void of Indigenous voices sharing our own stories and making sure they're authentic. So that was how we use that. So your product or your demo, sometimes, like depending on where you're pitching, you might be able to show a little reel of your film or a sizzler or something like that to show what is your product or what is your like if you're creating a demo of your say if you want to pitch a short story, a short film, to show, you know, a little bit of a visual with that. That's always nice to have. I didn't have that with mine because we only had 2 minutes. So for me to like cut away to show visuals, that would just completely take them out of what I was trying to do. So it depends on where you're pitching and how you're pitching. But I mean, if I was pitching, you know, starting a lotion company or something, I'd have my lotions with me and showing that off, right? But when you're trying to do that with video, it would be to show the visuals or show part of that. But it really depends on how much time you have and how you're doing it. If you're doing it virtually, you might reconsider. Previously to this past year, I had a video, a TV behind me that was playing visuals of like our reel in the background so that people could see the quality of our production. But I kind of found that this past year, it was a little bit distracting maybe. So I chose this past year to leave that out and just let them feel what my passion was. And then hopefully, you know, they would be able to see some of my work if they were to research me or something like that. But I led with my passion, and hopefully that was enough, which it worked out in that case. But it's always nice, especially if you're pitching a story, you're going to want to have something visual, like just to help it. That really helps them. So where are you now as a business or a creator? So where are you within your career that proves that there's traction? Where are you in your company that shows that by receiving this funding that you're asking for is going to go far, and that you will fulfill what you're saying you're going to do? So when they see where you're at as a current business person or producer or a storyteller, you have to show what are your past projects, what are your past successes. So for mine, I included that we won the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business Award, just saying those things, just so they know that, okay, like this person is serious, they can do this. So proving that there's traction for you to create you to fulfill and for you to create what you say you're going to do. Business model. So how will you make money? How will you be profitable or sustainability? So this is more of the business side of things, but I'm going to be honest in saying that this one was really hard for me, like the business model and the financial plan, because for myself and the values that I was taught, like it's never about, we don't focus on the money aspect of it. We don't focus on the profits, because that's not what I came in this business to do. I'm not trying to grow this multi-million-dollar company because I want to be rich. No, I started this company because I wanted to tell the stories of my community, and I wanted that to impact my community and to help our community, to educate people. Like that was my sole purpose. It had nothing to do with the money or the financials or anything like that. So I had a really hard time trying to say, oh yeah, like this is how much we're going to make and all these things, because that's what they expect, right? And it's such a different way than what we're normally used to. Like we're not in it for that, as creators, when we're passionate about doing something. So that one I had to really figure out, how am I going to do that? And just showing the growth of like, yes, we are, with these corporate jobs, we are profiting, and then we're also giving back to community. So it's like, that's what I wanted to focus on, is like how we're giving back and how the impact of what these stories are doing. Like that was my focus. It's like, so, with this, I talked about how we were growing each year. So we grew 50% year over year for the first few years. And then the previous year, we grew 133% within that 1 year. So instead of focusing on the money and what my goals were, for making money, I focused on like the percentage growth, because it's like, well, you can see through those percentages that yes, we are growing, but it's like, that's not really our focus here. As long as but I guess the focus was like how much content we were creating. It's like the more content we're creating, the more impact we're having. So that's kind of the route that I took it, instead of kind of, making it all about the money. So, so what are your current numbers and what are your goals? And so with our goals, it was, it's like, how are we impacting community? How are we using this to create change, or, to like fill the void of what we're seeing in our community? So that's how I kind of did that one. The team, so just sharing, like for me, we're Indigenous female-led production company. Currently, we have 6 employees, and 5 out of 6 of those are all of BIPOC. We're all majority Indigenous. So like saying that and sharing who your team is, how many members of your team you have, and the diversity is very important as well. The ask. So what are you asking for? You have to be very clear, like, what are you asking for and how will it be used? That's really important. You can't beat around the bush. Like, you have to be very clear and say, why are you here? Why are you pitching it? And what are you going to do with that money? Because they, as investors or funders, they want to make sure that what they're going to give you is going to be used exactly for what you're saying it's going to be used for. And depending on who they are that you're pitching to, if they are investors, like how are they getting, like, what are they getting back from this? Or else, like they want to make sure they're going to get a quality production from what they're giving you. So it's really important to kind of to know what you're asking, be clear on how it's going to be used. Sorry, this little tab is in the way and I don't know how to move it. Like where the mute button is. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it. So the need. What is the impact? So what is the impact that your business or your production company is going to have? Or why does this story need to be told? Whatever story you're pitching, whether it's a short film, a documentary, a web series, why does this story need to be told? And why does this story need to be told by you? What makes you the person to tell this story? Like, and I think that's so important as well, is for them to understand like why you're the best person to do that. So conveying that passion and convincing them that they need to invest into you as the storyteller and invest into your idea and how and what that impact will have on the audience or the people in the community. So that would be your closing, is closing with that passion. That passion is like the main thing that is going to sell you, your company, and your idea. You have to show that, because that's they're going to feel that, you know what I mean? You can't fake that. It's something that people will feel, and that's what you want them. You want them to feel that passion of why you want to do this and why you're doing it. And yeah, that's the main thing. So those are the elements of a good pitch. And then I was supposed to go through this, but so the opening is sharing a memorable short story on how or when you founded the company and or your why. So what you do for your customers. So keep it simple. It's always nice to mention the year that you established your company. So how is your business or your project solving a problem? Can you make the problem relatable to the audience or the people that you're pitching to? When does your audience need your service? So yeah, so why is there a need for this service, for your production services, or for the audience that is watching your film or your series? They ask, so if you win, how will you use the funding? So you have to be clear and concise. How will you grow your company, and how will it impact community? And so for this powwow pitch, the main thing that they were looking for is really how the money that they give you will impact community. And so that's one thing I really made, no matter what, I always focus on that, but I really emphasize like the impact that it would have on community, which is hiring aspiring Indigenous filmmakers to teach them how to do this so they can go out in their communities and then share their stories. So it's like a ripple effect, right? We're creating more creators to go out and keep continuing to do this. So that's the impact, as well as educating and, cultural revitalization. Like those were the impacts. And then again, you're closing. So people believe in people, not businesses. So you're selling yourself, you're selling your passion, you're selling you and your story. Like that's what they're looking for, is really, they're looking at you. Like you can have the best idea ever, but I mean, if you're not showing that why this is such an important story to you, you might not sell it. They might not connect with it. And maybe you're not the person to tell that story. So having that connection and really conveying that through who you are and why you're the right person to tell that story, that's what sells it. So why are you the person to tell a story or run this type of business? How is your connection to the problem make you someone that they can believe in? So for me, I'm an Indigenous woman, grew up in the inner city. Like, I've seen the struggles, I've lived through that. Like, I have that lived experience. So that's why I have the right to tell these stories. I have the right because I am also on the journey of reconnecting to my culture and have done that work. And, I have built those personal relationships within the community with our elders. So it's like, I'm the best person to tell maybe the story that I want to tell because, I've had made those connections and I've worked many, many years to build those relationships with the community. And so, you know what I mean? Just finding different things like that is like, why are you that person that they can believe in? It's like the work that you've done over the years to be the person that you are, or, you know what I mean? So like, it's just, it's making them understand who you are and why you should be the one to tell that story, or, So does anybody have any questions in regards to that? Like the whole elements of a good pitch? I just want to stop there and kind of go into looking at some of these. And if you have any questions, I'll just leave it open for a minute here. Has anybody here ever done pitching, whether it's pitching a story or pitching their idea or business, anything?
I've pitched to my family for funding to start this. And then at the end of the day, they told me what you just said is the passion. We are going to help you because you are so passionate about it. And we've never seen you like this. So I can confirm that was the thing that, like, I don't even know that they understood. It was nothing like this. I was just trying to make them understand that I'm not going to lose their money, or I might lose the money, but that I have a plan.
Exactly.
That I have a plan and so on. But they were just looking at me and they were amazed how passionate I was. So I can confirm that.
That's it. That's all. That's like the main thing, like, is that passion that they have to see that and feel that from you, because that's what they can trust in, is like, you're so passionate about this, they can trust you that you're gonna fulfill what you say you're gonna do because of how much you want to do this and how you connect with whatever it is that you're pitching. So that's great. Anybody else have any experience with pitching? Does anybody want to try pitching one day?
I've done like some business pitches in the past before. In high school, I was really kind of into that. And I guess now I'm getting into it again as a new entrepreneur. So yeah, I remember I competed in like a young entrepreneur program through BDC.
Oh, nice. Aw.
So, and big deal. Yeah, it was a national competition for high school students. And yeah, it was an idea similar to Red Rising. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's scary. Pitching could be really scary, I'm not gonna lie. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. The more you kind of enjoy it, because it's like a rush. It's like an adrenaline rush. But it is a lot, but it's rewarding. Whether you lose or whether you win, it's always rewarding, because you're building a skill, but you're also building basically like the outline of a business plan, basically, right? Because you're sort of developing all of that, in point form and short form, but you can expand on that later if you want to develop a business plan. So, and then also it helps you kind of understand who you are a little bit more and what your goals are. And, if somebody comes and asks you, oh, so what are you doing? You've already perfected that, where you're able to like give that elevator pitch right then and there. So it's development, right? It really helps you grow as an entrepreneur, as a storyteller, because if you're, wanting to tell even stories, you're going to have to pitch eventually. If you have an idea for a project, right? If you have an idea for a film, pitching is going to come with that, whatever way that might be. So that's kind of what we're going to go into next, is learning a little bit about that aspect of pitching through, say, if you have a documentary. Mine's going to be more focused, because I am a documentary filmmaker. It's more on pitching documentary, but a lot of these will be the same, even if you have something like a narrative script, something scripted. I'm sure there'll be a lot of overlapping as well with that, but we're gonna talk a little bit about that as well. But does anybody else have any other comments or questions that they want to say before we move on? No. Okay. So yeah, pitching a broadcaster or a producer. So basically, there's many different ways to do this, and I'm sure some of you probably have a little bit of experience with this. Beverly, I don't know if you've had to do pitching when working at APTN, like for different stories and stuff like that you've done. Because I know when I worked at CBC, we had pitching meetings once a week.
Yeah, I've worked for APTN and CTV and Global, and yeah, I've done a lot of news story pitching, which is a little different than what you were talking about, because sometimes I was pitching to an audience that I knew did not want to hear that story, and I would have to fight to prove why that story was valuable to them. So this pitch is a little more like I would, I'd be a little less confrontational, because I used to get some really pushy sometimes. So it's like, no, you need to understand. But when you're pitching to mainstream news organizations, Indigenous stories, often they don't see the value in those stories. And sometimes I'd really have to fight. And I would pitch, multiple times until they were like, well, just let her do the story, because she's not going to stop.
Good. That's, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. It's tough, and I'm glad that you fought for what you fought for, because that's the best way. Like, that's the only way sometimes that we were able to get our voices heard. And it sucks that we have to be in those positions sometimes, but it's people who are doing that fighting or what's making that impact for the community who's watching what you're pitching. It might not be impactful to those people, but to our community, it can have a huge effect. So that's good. I'm so glad that you were able to do that. So same here. I worked at CBC. I worked for the Indigenous, CBC Unreserved, which is a national Indigenous radio show. So I worked there for a number of years, and I did a lot of pitching. But mine was a little bit different too, because we were an Indigenous show. So it was a little bit more, they were a little bit more, open to the ideas and stuff like that. But we did have non-Indigenous producers who were the ones who had to say yes or no to the ideas. So there was a lot of same thing, a lot of convincing, a lot of unfairness when you look at other shows that are the same capacity, like national shows that had a lot more supports, a lot more staffing, a lot more everything, even though the scale of the shows were exactly the same. So we had to fight all the time to get the same treatment as other shows that were just as big. So I feel you on that. And that's one of the main reasons that I did eventually have to leave, because there wasn't an opportunity for growth, I felt, to be able to share our stories without having any restrictions or having somebody say, controlling the way you want to tell a story. So that's kind of one of the reasons that I left. But I mean, they are doing better. They're slowly getting there, I guess, but they got a long way to go. Just yeah, they're trying, but well, they need more of more diverse people in those leadership positions, I think, and that's when we'll start to see some change.
Yeah, that's definitely where the gap is, really.
Yeah, exactly. Were you gonna say something, Deandra?
Yeah, I was just gonna share, I've done some work with CBC recently and done some facilitation work with them. They're doing their national Indigenous kind of strategy right now, where they're meeting with content creators and people like who watch CBC, who have a vested interest in the content that goes on to CBC, as well as the inner workings of broadcasting and stuff like that. So they are listening, was a phase that went like through. I did the very first one here in Winnipeg, and then I hosted the second one in Edmonton. And so I have been working with CBC, and we did like a similar work with the CRTC in revising their Indigenous broadcasting policy. It was old, it was 20 years old, it hadn't been touched. So we are doing that. There's going to be a second phase of that coming out. The CBC is going to do a second phase of their feedback sessions. And so that's also really good. And so just so you know that
Yeah, that's great.
they're out there right now. They're trying to listen. First time CBC's ever done any kind of consulting with Indigenous peoples, right? And so I think there's talks of doing an apology, I think, to the Canadian audience and then to the Indigenous audience. So 2 different apologies.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's
Just
good.
sharing some of that.
Thanks for
with you
sharing.
guys, but like there's gonna become some changes from, I think, those conversations of meeting with all these people from across Canada and talking about, change in management, and we need more access and more opportunities to tell their stories, and then on like our way, in our appropriate senses. I have been in a lot of those conversations with a lot of content creators across Canada, and they're listening right now, so it's a good sign.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great start. That's a big step. So big step forward. So that's really good to hear. Yeah, and I do feel that all of the different departments, whether any broadcaster, like whether it's CBC, CTV, whoever, like I think they're all the different departments are at different stages as well. Like when we think of news, I think they're still a little bit further behind than the newer programs that are developed, such as like the different streams, like CBC short docs. I'm going to talk a little bit about them because I've worked with them on 2 productions and they were really amazing. So there is a lot of good things about the different departments that we can potentially work with on pitching film ideas too. So like the CBC Creative Network, like there is different streams out there that are more further along, I think. So yeah. So what we're going to talk about now is a basic pitch if you have an idea that you wanted to pitch a broadcaster. And so I'm going to focus more on CBC short docs because I just have more experience working specifically with them. But it really will be similar, like especially depending on what stage you're at in your film career. But I'm going to talk more about like the emerging to mid-career sort of opportunities through this session. And yeah, so we're kind of going to look at this and what a pitch could look like. And I think a lot of people get intimidated a little bit by the whole process, but really you don't have to come in with some crazy like board of like everything that's going to happen in your film and like all this information. You really don't. They don't want that because they don't have time to read all of your 30 pages. Like they don't have the time. So really what they're looking for is a simple 1 to 2 page proposal outlining the following information. So what they're looking for is a log line. So they want that to capture the essence of what your documentary is and grab their attention. So the log line is generally 2 to 3 sentences that is like basically your elevator pitch. So within a few lines, a few sentences, what is your film about? Like who is your protagonist? What is the antagonist? What is the challenge that they're overcoming? Boom, like just like you watch on clicking through Netflix or whatever, you have that log line that gives you that information. And then you decide right then and there if you want to watch that or if you're going to keep moving on. So that log line is really important and it has to really identify what your film is and capture their audience, capture their attention. What is at stake? Because that's what a good story has, right? Is what is at stake for this person, this protagonist. You know what I mean? So having a strong log line is what's going to really bring them in. Then you want a few paragraphs, which is also known as a synopsis, to articulating what your doc is, not just the story behind it. How will you tell this story in a way that no other filmmaker can tell this? So going back again to the other pitch document is like, why are you the right person to tell this story? You know, how are you going to tell it differently than any other person who's pitched a similar idea? So having that within your proposal doesn't have to be like right off the hop, but this was taken from CBC's short docs thing, but that's what they want to hear, right? Is why you're that person. So who are your characters and how do they help drive the story? So thinking about documentary, like obviously that character is so important because through a documentary, that's who we're following is your main characters. So they have to be interesting characters. They have to have interesting stories, interesting backgrounds. What is it about this character? Why are we following their story? So you can have, sometimes you can even put together a video of who your key characters are, just to show why this story needs to be told about this person or whatever the backstory is of why you want to pitch this person to have to do a story about this person or the story about your scripted film. Story and format. So what is the narrative arc, the unfolding story? Share how you're going to take this doc beyond being a profile piece. So if you happen to already have a tape or other media, include links. So including things within your pitch are always good. So resources to more information or visuals, having those extra little pieces for them to have more visual is always better, right? But really, like when you're talking about that narrative arc, you know, how does the story, like, I mean, because you can tell a story that already happened, but what is current that is making this like something that people want to hear today? So I'm going to use Run as One as an example. The story that I was talking about, the film that I did about the 10 indigenous runners who ran the Pan American Torch back in 1967. So that story happened over 50 years ago. So it's like, what makes it current now? You know what I mean? So what I did to add another element to make it current was it being the 50th anniversary and bringing them back together to the same restaurant that they were sent to. So they weren't allowed in the stadium to collect their glory after running 800 kilometers, but they were sent to the Pancake House after to watch the opening on the television at the restaurant next door. So what I did was I brought them back to that same restaurant to talk about their story and their experience. So that being a place, that restaurant being a place of something that could be a really negative and like, you know, negative story, negative, like something that could have been negative to them, a bad memory of them having to go there. Like we reclaimed that and we put that into a story where they can come back together and reminisce and remember the good times. So that's how I made it current for today. So it was like this event where they were coming back together, you know what I mean? So even though it's a historical piece, how are you making that? It's like, what is current today, why that story can be told or why it needs to be told. So thinking of that narrative arc, you know, what is at stake for this group of people or the person that you're highlighting in your documentary or in your scripted film? What is that arc of that story, that piece that brings us to that moment of like the turning point, like what's going to happen here, that climax of your story, understanding that. So you want to include that within your pitch. Yeah, so what is this the narrative and what is the unfolding story? Like you obviously have to give them the ending result as well because you don't want to leave them out. Like, you know, and when you're actually making the film, you don't want to give that away, but to the people you're pitching to, you kind of have to give that away because they want to know like, well, what's the result here? So a creative treatment, basically is just a write-up, more details of like, you know, what are your story plots? Like what are some of your major beat points within your story? That's always important. What's your unique visual approach? So you can talk about some of your, like the visual, like what makes it visually appealing. And how are you considering an audience? So who is your audience? Like, that's always important. Like who, you know, you can create something, but if nobody's into it, who's going to watch it? Like, how is that going to sell? How are they going to, if there's no audience for it, then, they're not really going to be into it. So you have to figure out like, who is this made for? And that's really what drives you all the time when you're developing a story, is always remembering who is the audience. And then, of course, including some links to previous work to showcase your strength, which is also what we talked about in the other pitch. So showing that there's traction, showing that if they give you $100,000 to create your short film or your documentary, that it's going to get done. You have to show them that what you've already completed, so that they can trust that the work is going to get done, and it's going to get done right, and it's going to get done on time. So that's your 1-page to 2-page proposal. So now what I'm going to do, how's everybody doing? Are you okay? Does anybody need to run to the bathroom or anything? Because what I'm going to do next is show you a sample of these 1-pagers or 2-pagers. But yeah, just let me know if you do need a break. If not, we'll just keep going. Let's see.
Oops. Yeah. Deandra just asked for a $5.
Oh, okay.
And Beverly, yeah, we're good. Good time to stretch anyways.
Yeah. I'll hang out here though, if you guys do have any questions or just want to chat. I'm just going to pull it up here.
I have a question, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, are those things done, like you want to pitch a broadcaster, is it like email? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so every broadcaster, depending on who you're pitching, what department, because there's all different types, right? Like you can, like smaller funds, like they'll always have a person that like a main contact. And so it's good to sort of just reach out to them and just, build a little bit, like try to build a relationship, like do a little bit of networking with them, whether it's like, hey, like this is who I am. I'm wondering if you have time for a quick meeting, or something like that. I think meeting with them first, and especially like for emerging and mid-career funding opportunities, whether it's a broadcaster or whoever, they're super open and they want to connect with us. You know what I mean? I think we get a little intimidated sometimes. It's like, oh, little old me, like, I don't think they'll make time for me, but they really want to, because especially now, right? Like they have more of a mandate to be giving more opportunities to BIPOC creators. So they're trying to look for us, right? And so they will make time. And I think, yeah, that's one thing that I've learned just in like doing different networking, is that they really do want to connect with us. They want to hear our ideas, and they want to see like how they can help us advance within our own careers. So I would say is like, figure out who would be a good, like, say if you have an idea, figure out where's the right place for this idea to be. So whether that's CBC Short Docs or Bell MTS, because they have a community fund as well. Or I know you use the Winnipeg Foundation, like whoever you are looking, like that might be the right person to share your idea, to fund your idea. Again, doing your research first to figure out who that right broadcaster might be, and making sure that your idea is in line with what they share. And they'll tell, like you can do all that, like it's always on their website of what they're looking for. And then figure out who that main contact is, and then just sending them a nice email and saying who you are, what level are you, like emerging creator, what types of stories you're into, and like a little bit about yourself. And just be genuine, just be you, and then just say, I would love to be able to connect with you, to share some of my ideas, or to learn more about what you offer, or what sort of fundings are available, and just making that connection. And guarantee you they will get back to you and say, sure, let's set up a call. You know what I mean? So that's how you just have to dive in and, make that connection, and they will, because that's part of their job. Their job is to just listen, to listen, to connect. Yeah. And then I wanted to say too, another really awesome event that happens every year. I don't know if you've been, but it's called All Access. It's put on.
Yeah, All Access, it just happened.
Yeah. I love All Access. I think that's such a good place to connect with broadcasters, with funders, different producers. because they have speed dating, basically, like speed producing or speed pitching, I guess, where you can set up a meeting and they literally have every person who's there, whether it's somebody from Netflix, somebody from Bell MTS, some from Telefilm, someone from like basically anything you could think of. They bring people all over Canada, and you can sign up to have a quick 15-minute meeting with them. So they have blocks of time throughout the whole conference where you have your scheduled meeting with them, and that's your opportunity to just get to know them. Even if you don't have something that you don't like, something to not, if you don't have a project, you can even just connect with them just so that they can get to know who you are and you be on their radar, so that you can, build that relationship. And so, yeah, I think that's such a great event because it really brings that one-on-one. And then you get to do a lot of learning because they bring in all these professionals to just do sessions, and you can sit in whatever session you want. So it's a great networking event.
Okay. It's good because I imagine it was so scary for me. It's good to see you explaining as this is as simple as that. I always imagine that big thing. I don't even know.
I know, that's how I thought. It's intimidating, it's scary. But then you realize like, oh, like you're just like me. They seem like some big crazy television producers, but really like they're so nice, and they want to help you succeed. So it's just, yeah, once you connect with them, then you realize that they're really there for you. So that's always nice.
I think that's key. What Erica just said is that they always want to help you succeed. They want your pitch to be the one. And it's the same thing when you're applying for a grant. They want to give you money. They want to help you. They want your project to be the one that they choose.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
encouraging.
And then, and even if it's not like what they're looking for right now, or maybe it's just not in line with what they produce, then you ask them that, like, so like, what can I do for my project to make it, not, I don't want to say better, but like to make it a certain way. Like, what do you think can improve my project or my pitch? And they'll tell you that they'll give you that constructive criticism, which is really nice because then it helps you advance your skills, but also, gives you things that you might have not have thought about to do within your project or your story. So, because these people, you have to realize they're reading story after story every single day, so they know story, they know structure, they know what's been done or how to do it differently, so they can always provide that feedback on how to improve your pitch.
And also, if you ask them that question, maybe you have a second project that you didn't pitch to them. And then you say, oh, I have this one as well. Does this work?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I just want to check to see, I don't know if it's been 5 minutes or not, but Deandra, are you back, Deandra? Oh no, Steven. Yeah, there's Deandra, and we'll just wait for Steven.
Just going to get my charger. I'll be right back.
All right, I'll just wait for Alice to get back and then we'll continue. Does anybody have any questions so far, just in regards to the one pager?
I've never developed a one pager myself, but that, like, I've seen it, I've helped others, I've worked with it, but it's a good refresher because I feel like it's things that, like, I've learned through, like, National Screen Institute and also the Beach Film Institute. So, and like, I went to Tech Walk for broadcasting media arts. Like, I remember all these things, and it's just like, it's a good refresher because I feel like, after doing other things for so long, it's good coming back and knowing, okay, yes, I remember all these things, and it's good to,
Yeah.
have assurance again. Yeah, so it's very helpful. I'm learning and taking back a lot out of this.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Good to hear. Awesome. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you a one pager or a two pager. Mine are usually two pagers because I like to put in visuals as well, just so people can see a little bit. So this was my latest short film that I did last year. And so, I'm just going to skim through it really quickly. So this is, I mean, if I didn't have these photos, this would be a one pager. But I'll go over it. So the title, I have my title and I have the length. So my title is Bimi Batuin, Where I Ran. So this is Anishinaabe for Where I Ran. The length is 22 minutes. I have my log line right off the hop. So mind you, it's changed since then. This is just what I pitched with, but a residential school survivor embarks on a journey to remember the harsh trek of running 100 kilometers through a 1967 Manitoba blizzard. By revisiting his past, Charlie hopes to heal and share a message of hope for all survivors. So I don't think my logline is very strong, to be honest, but I literally with this pitch, Charlie here, who was actually a main character in Run as One, he came to me last winter with his story, and he asked if I would be willing to help him share his story. And when he shared it with me, I was like, oh my goodness, yes, like I'm definitely 100% want to help you share the story. And so it was really quick. I basically threw this together in a day, and I talked to CBC. I said, this is what I have, and pitched it to them. And then right then they said, yes, let's do it. So again, like, you don't have to put a ton of effort. Like, yes, put in all your effort, but I mean, as long as you have a strong idea and you're willing to write it down where it's clear, concise, and it really shows like why this story needs to be told, you can put together a pitch like that. Honestly, like like, try not to overthink it too much, but as long as you have your log line, your synopsis, and the backstory, and like the treatment, this is also called a treatment, then like that's what they want. And another thing too is that like I said, like they don't have a lot of time, right? Like a lot of these people are getting pitches all the time, so they want something that's easy to get the idea. They want the picture, they want the idea, they want those story beats of what makes this story unique and why it needs to be told. Also, they don't want you to put so much effort and work into your pitch, like your one pagers too, is because like say if you spent months and months and months developing this one pager, and they're like, oh, sorry, it's not what we're looking for, you've just wasted all that time. So a lot of them will tell you, as long as you like just put together this one pager, then talk to them, literally call them up or email them, whatever it is, and say, hey, look, I have this idea I wanted to run by you. Because then you can see right then and there as if this is something of even interest to them. And so like having that phone conversation even before you send this document is always really great, because you can tell right then and there if this is for them or if it's not. So you know what I mean? You don't want to put all this effort in for them to say no. Oh, sorry, it's not what we're looking for. So having that initial conversation off the hop to understand what they're looking for and if this is something of their interest, that saves you so much time down the road, right? So that's what I did with this. I reached out because I've built that relationship with them, and I said, hey, I called them. I said, hey, look, like I have this idea. This is generally the idea, and I had this, but it wasn't as developed. It was just one pager. And I said, this is the idea. I'm wondering if you're interested. Right away, they're like, yes, we're interested. And then I went in and developed it a little bit more, so that they could pitch it to the higher department. Like, so they have like, you know, the main people that connect with us filmmakers, and then they have to go and pitch it. So then that's when I developed this. I went in, now I know that there's interest. So now I'm going to go in and put time into developing my 2-pager or my 1-pager to make sure that these guys can go and sell it so that we can get the money to create it. So that's just a little bit of the process for CBC short docs. So now we go into our synopsis. So I wanted to show who this character was. So Charlie Bittern, 74, he's a residential school survivor. He goes to visit the iconic halfway tree on Highway number 1 to remember the start of a harsh journey he took at the age of 19 in the midst of Manitoba's brutal blizzard of 1967. Charlie will embark on the same journey alongside his son, this time with promising weather, and walk the 100 kilometers to heal from his past and spread awareness for all residential school survivors and the children who never made it home. So one thing that, again, like I probably should have mentioned earlier on here, is that he was forced to run 100 kilometers when he was 19 years old by his school principal, his residential school principal, through a blizzard. So my synopsis has changed. It's not the same here. I'm just showing you what I started with, but within my new synopsis of what, because the film is completed and it's out there now, you'll see that it talks about like why or what happened to him before with that, like how he was forced to run through a blizzard in the middle of the night at the age 19, and now he's going back and he's going to rewalk that same distance, 50 or however many years later, 55 years later, but this time to heal and reclaim that, instead of it being like a negative energy, like a negative thought or a negative thing that he went through in his younger years. Now he's going back to do that again, but reclaim that. So the backstory or the treatment. So Charlie was a top athletic student attending Birtle Residential School in Manitoba. Like most students who were forced into residential school, he wanted to run away and escape the mistreatment and abuse that he faced. On the eve of 1967 biggest snowstorms, Charlie and his friend were traveling from Winnipeg back to Birtle Residential School when their principal became upset with the boys. So this changed again. The story changed. They were coming back from an event actually that they were helping the principal with. So they weren't trying to run away. Again, like, so having the facts of the story change there. But the punishment Charlie would face as the top runner in his school was to run through a blizzard in the frigid cold back to Birtle Residential School. Along the way, his principal would threaten to run him over if he were to take any breaks. So here's a picture of the residential school that he attended. This is the tree, the halfway tree that he remembers seeing when he was kicked out of the car when he was 19 and forced to run. So as Charlie prepared himself to begin the harsh trek, he would never forget the presence of a prominent lone tree on the side of the Prairie Highway. Today, this tree has become a historical landmark, a halfway point for those traveling from Winnipeg to Brandon, Manitoba. For Charlie, this tree is a reminder of the resilience he carries to have overcome the abuse he faced in the years of residential school. The sun was setting and the temperature was dropping as Charlie pushed himself through the snowdrifts. It was recorded by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada that Charlie ran roughly 9 hours, about 100 kilometers through the prairies on the night of one of Manitoba's coldest snowstorms. The principal would finally let him back into the vehicle in the early hours of the next day, just before hitting Brandon, Manitoba. So here's a visual of how far he ran. So here's Winnipeg. There's Portage la Prairie. He started just outside of Portage la Prairie and he ran that far in a blizzard in the middle of the night when he was 19 years old in front of his principal's vehicle. So I wanted to give that visual of how far he was forced to run. And there's Birtle Residential School way up here. So they were traveling from Winnipeg all the way there. So that's how far he had to run. And then so fast forward to the current, again, what makes this story? Yes, it was a historical story, it happened in the past, but how does that make it relevant to today? So today, that story, 55 years later, Charlie had the opportunity to share the story with his good friend, respected elder Dave Crishane, who encouraged Charlie to revisit the tree and study what the tree meant sorry, the tree meant and what the meaning of this was, the study what the tree meant. Yeah, sorry, this is all. A week later, Dave passed away, leaving Charlie with a mission to fulfill the quest encouraged by his good friend. So Charlie, who follows a Christian way of life, is open to reconnecting to his traditional roots by following through with this important honoring, and hopes to heal spiritually and mentally from his inner struggles and reconcile with the significance of this tree and the journey. In the spring of 2022, Charlie will visit the halfway tree with his son to fulfill the honoring and begin the journey of rewalking the distance that he was forced to travel. Charlie wants to share his story and raise awareness for his fellow residential school survivors. He knows at the age of 74 that this may be challenging for him, so he hopes for his son and family to take the lead in walking the distance in honor of his father and all residential school survivors and children who did not make it home. All people will be welcomed to join Charlie and Charlie Jr. in honor of their own family members who attended residential schools, and for all the children who did not make it home. This is a story of reclamation and resilience as Charlie carries the strength to relive a dreadful experience. He chooses to use it as a way of healing and empowerment for himself and others on their healing journey. So that's 2 pages. But I mean, I probably could have made it into one if I didn't put in photos and corrected some of my grammar issues. But yeah, I just wanted to share this 1-pager because this is what you can pitch with, you know, this basic format. Does anybody have any questions in regards to that? So I'm going to show you the trailer for that, just so you can see what it became. You can actually watch it online if you want, or on CBC Gem, but I'm just going to show you the trailer.
You know, I was battling the storm up and down them hills on #1 highway. My lungs were just burning. My legs were getting weak. I get very emotional when I look at that tree. Like right now, as I'm walking here going west, my memory just flashing back. And as I walk here, I'm starting to feel light. Like I'm not one bit tired. I feel like running.
So that's the trailer. It just makes me emotional again. That was a beautiful journey. I was so
I'm weepy. I went to Erica's screening of it at the CMHR, and it was in a very emotional, beautiful event, and such a beautiful film.
Yeah, it was such an honor for me to be able to do that for Charlie, because it brought him so much healing. And that's all I could ever ask for, is for the work that we create to help the people, to help him, but not also, you know, just the people who get to witness and watch his story, and, you know, other survivors, you know, who can relate to that. And yeah, so those are the projects that I absolutely love doing. That's my passion work right there, is doing those stories. And so that's why I became a storyteller, is to be able to do those things. And so that's why documentary filmmaking is something that I've really loved to be able to do. So yeah, I just wanted to share a little bit about that whole process of pitching. And then, you know, I don't know how far you want me to get into, like, what that looks like afterwards with producing, because I did produce, I produced that film. So I was the executive producer. So I tend to like take everything on all the time, and I have to stop doing that. So I am learning how to just take on different roles. Like the feature that I'm working on right now, I'm only the director, so I don't have to worry about any of the producing, which is it's nice because I just get to focus on the creative. So that's the difference, right? Like you can play the different roles. You can play the producer, you can play the director, you can play the writer, you can do everything if you really wanted to. You can shoot it, you can edit it. It's really like how much you want to take on and how like where your interests are in creating and yeah, like it's just I don't know. I enjoy producing. It was a smaller budget film, so I just ended up producing it myself. Like so basically doing, all of the finances, like basically everything. And then hiring my crew to take on the crew part, like doing the shooting, the everything like that. And then I was just, the producing and directing. Yeah, but I've definitely took on like big roles early on. So I had to learn like that. I learned the hard way because I just threw myself in and learned as I went. But CBC was really, really supportive. Like they cater to like CBC Short Docs caters to emerging to mid-level creators. So when I first pitched Run as One, the journey of the front runners, when we brought all the elders together who ran the Pan American Torch, that was my first time ever producing like an actual film through a broadcaster. And so I had no idea what I was doing. And so they were super patient with me. And I honestly am so grateful for that. They supported me through it because I had no idea what I was doing. So they had to like kind of walk me through like, hey, now you got to do this, now you got to do this, and then just learning on my own. So it's nice to have that from a broadcaster because, and then like starting with those levels of like emerging to mid-career funding opportunities, because then you can expect that support and you don't have to feel overwhelmed about not knowing if you're ready or you know what I mean? So they're good. And I have to give it to them, like Leslie Burchard and Nick Melody, I can't remember his last name, but they're the two producers that I've worked with, and they're both amazing. They're both with CBC Short Docs. So we're at 7:40. Any questions right now, or want to keep going? Yeah, Stephen, you're just muted.
How much did it cost you to make that short documentary?
That one, our budget was 60,000.
And how long did it take?
So the journey itself that they walked was 2 days. And then we also did like the interview with Charlie. We also went out to the tree and shot all the reenactments, which was a day. So 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 or 5 days of filming. Yeah. So yeah, like I mean, like that's a decent budget to me. Like I can do a lot with that. And also too, because I have built partnerships. Like I mentioned last week, I've built partnerships with community organizations. So a lot of the times I don't have to pay large amounts for crew or not crew, but equipment rentals, because I have relationships with Just TV and Southeast, where they have all of the high tech equipment that I help them by renting from them. It's not as expensive. And then also like I have a crew of people that I've worked with for the past 15 years. So, we all kind of take on multiple roles. So we have like kind of a smaller team, and then we bring on youth to kind of help in different positions and give them experience. So we can do a lot with little. I think like that we've learned how to do a lot with little, but I wouldn't say that's little. I think that's a pretty good budget. But I mean, once you move up and, start working with like bigger crews, then you're looking at like hundreds of thousands of dollars. But yeah, but that's a good budget for a short film.
My question, did you come up with a budget, or do they give you a budget and you have to work with it?
No, so you have to come up with the budget. So they basically, when you have that treatment, like I was saying, you have to, so when the producers, after I had that conversation saying, hey, is this something you'd be interested in? They say, yes, send me a treatment, send me your budget. So they'll give you a template of what their budget looks like. I can show you if you'd like me to. Let's see. Yeah, because like CBC Short Docs, every department, they have their own budget templates, and they send you like all the templates like that you need for most of what you need to get done, which is nice. And then you just have to fill them in. The budget can be hard sometimes, because especially if you don't know, like, and for me, like I've learned like what the rates are and stuff throughout the years. But if you don't know, it's good to work with more established producer, just so that they can help you, guide you in knowing kind of like how much to charge or put into those different sections. What am I looking for? Sorry, I'm getting confused here.
And I've put a couple links in the chat for the CBC short docs programs. So if you click on those links or just copy and paste them for later, you
Mhm.
can see what they're looking for and sort of a breakdown of everything.
All right, so I'm gonna pull up this one. Oh, I guess you can't see that. Stop share. Okay. So here's a sample of a budget. And the budgets can change. It doesn't, I mean, if you come out with one number, they might have a different number. They might say it's not realistic. It's maybe some of the numbers just don't look like they align with like what it actually costs. Like maybe you come in too low, they'll let you know. They'll be like, oh, I don't think that's like, you know what I mean? Like they're pretty, oh no, not this one. Sorry. They're pretty open to sharing that with you. Like they don't want you to run into a problem later to realize, oh, we don't have enough money. Like they're not about that. Like they really want to just support your idea and help make sure that you're going to have the funds to be able to pay the people to do what you need to do. So, all right. So this is their template, and a lot of anywhere you pitch will have a lot of the same templates. They might be a little bit different, but like even if you're going to like film training or what do you call them? National Film Board, they have similar templates as well, but it's all going to kind of look the same. But you have the project, all the information. You have above the line. So I don't know if you guys know about budgets and stuff. I'm still kind of learning like these kind of budgets. Like I know how to do my own type of budgets for like my production stuff, but these are different. So above the line, which is basically your producer and your director who get like percentages of the full budget. These can change. So you have your personnel. So they look like, yeah, I don't really like these budgets because they're kind of intimidating because there's so many like lines and so many whatever. But you have like, yeah, basic things like production accountant, director of photography, your camera operators, a still photographer, because you want to have those photos being shot on set so that you have promotional material, sound recordist, you have your sound guys. We always put tobacco honorariums because we always offer tobacco. We always offer honorariums. That's pretty low. We actually upped that. Office rentals. So like we're doing producing within our office. So we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a rent. Stationary supplies, internet, like obviously some of that internet, like you can they're pretty open to allowing you to charge for some of this stuff. Site rentals. So if you need a location to do the interview, which we did, so there was obviously like hotels that were needed because we were traveling. There was per diems that needed to be given. Gas, obviously there was a lot of gas for that one. The basic, so then your equipment, you have your camera rentals, you have your lighting and your grip. This is low. I don't know if I changed this, but it could, yeah, you like, again, like they talk you through things and make sure that you're on the right track with different numbers. So sound, have your editor, basic day rate of an editor. And this is lower too. It could be up to 500. Editing rooms. So if you're using an editing room, if you're getting a color correction, that was way more than it was here. So you have to also, so I'll just quickly go through some graphics. If you're getting graphics done, your audio, you're getting a mix that was way more than we anticipated. Your composer, so somebody to do your music for you if you're hiring somebody or you're going to purchase music. If you're getting stock footage, so we had a little bit of stock like archival photos that we use, so we have to pay for those. Archival footage, I'm going to say, is like crazy expensive. So know that if you're ever creating a film that has a lot of archival footage, it's insanely pricey. Closed captioning, that's descriptive video. You'll learn about that eventually if you don't know it. And then your online, that was way more. That's basically to take your fine cut and like polish it to be ready for broadcast. Of course, insurance and legal fees, lawyers, accounting, again, bank charges. So yeah, these are general line items. And then you have your corporate overhead. So the contingency and the corporate overhead, I honestly don't really know what this is, but we use it if we go over budget on certain things. The same with the contingency. That's just extra funds, like percentage of your budget. Those are like fallbacks. Say like for us, like our online and our mixing and coloring was way more than we originally thought because we were on such a tight timeline. We had to get it done like super quick. And so we had to pay extra for a quick turnaround. So we ended up having to pay like almost like twice, like if maybe even triple the amount that we budgeted for. So again, that's where contingency or corporate overhead falls into play. We have money to kind of fall back on to fill some of the gaps. So generally, okay, that was it here. So generally, that's what your budgets are going to look like. And then it's just figuring out, okay, how much is that going to cost per day? And you can even call around and ask people for quotes. You know what I mean? Like if you have a shooter in mind, call them and say how much a day rate. And then you put that in your line item and then figure out how many days you're going to need. So that's basically, if you don't know those rates, just call people and ask how much for your service for the day. And then you have that amount.
My next question for you is, for your company, Kijik, how do you pronounce it again?
Kijik.
Kijik, okay. What does that mean?
Kijik means, it's so this Anishinaabe word for the sky. So that's my late elder Dave Christian gave that name to our company when we first established. Yeah, because that's where I kind of learned and grew. Like that's my ceremony family. So Dave wanted to make sure that we had a name when I was first starting out, and he said you should call it Kijik, and he explained like because like the sky, there's no limits to what we can dream and achieve. So that's kind of what he explained to me. So I really love that. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice, Deandra.
When you started up your production company, did you have to get it looked into for see if the name was already taken, like that?
Oh yeah. So when you go through that process of like the company's office, so say if you so you have you want to produce your film. You need to have a name. You don't need to have a name. You can have just a number, but you want to now have a production company and name that company. So then when you go to apply at the company's office to get your corporation or your sole proprietor, whatever you decide that you want to get. But for a documentary for broadcast, you're going to need a corporation. So then you do a name search. So it's like $45 or something like that. So you just put that name and you try to register it, and then it'll tell you if it's available. And they'll also do a search where they'll show you all the other names that are similar to yours.
So where do I look into that?
Yeah, just the company's office, Manitoba. Yeah, it's just called the company's office. And so that's where you go to register any business in Manitoba.
Just Manitoba or?
Yeah, Manitoba, let's see, Manitoba company's office. Yeah. Yeah, so it's just company's office. It's located downtown. So it's a government of Manitoba. And then it's not very, like, it's not complicated. You just go there, you pay, and you fill out the application, and then they'll do a name search. It'll take like 2 weeks, and they'll let you know if it's available or not.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just steps, right? We just like, there's a lot of steps, but once you do each step, it becomes more like clear, and it's not as scary. It's just looking at it from the outside. It's like, oh, there's so many things you have to do, but it's quite easy once you start doing them. So I just put that in the chat, like where you can go and with the office hours and more information. So you can look there. I'm gonna show you guys quickly because I know we're running out of time, but I want to share the resources, and you have this in your folders.
Can I quickly ask a question? You talk
of course.
about archives. I'm looking for archives now from my documentary. Where do you find, like, I'm looking for Winnipeg, something like that. Where do you find that?
Sure. So there is, there was that building downtown. What is that called again? It's gonna bug me. It's it's where you, sorry, it's gonna really bug me, but I'm gonna remember and I'm gonna send it to you. But it's like you have access to like public domain, is it public domain? So once things become a certain age, once archives become a certain age, they go into this database and everybody has access to it. So I would say start there, and I'm pretty sure it's the public domain archives of Manitoba or something like that. And that's probably the best place to start first, because usually they're free of charge because the public owns it now. It's not owned by somebody, and they have to be over a certain amount of years. So it really depends on like how far back you're going with your archives, but that's a good place to look. Also, the University of Manitoba has a lot of archives. You can, it really depends what it is that you're looking for. You can also talk to broadcasters. So CBC has a huge library because obviously they've been filming stuff for years and years and years. So they have a ton of archival footage, but they charge crazy amounts, which is really ridiculous. They charge $60 per second for footage. Yeah. So I think we used like 3 minutes, and it was so expensive. Like it was nuts. I don't even know if we even used 3 minutes, but yeah, it's crazy expensive. Even if it's a film that's made for them. I was making a CBC short film and I had to pay CBC to use their archives. So CBC basically paid themselves to use archives in their own film. It's really ridiculous, but so keep mindful of that. And then I just look online for things and then find out who owns those images. So that's what I did, like with Charlie's film. Really funny. We had to find a picture of a bull from the event that they were going to in Toronto. That's why they were coming back from Toronto and driving down the highway, was because they had a bull that they raised. And so they went to this big carnival. And so I wanted to find a picture of this carnival with like a bull at this carnival. And so I just Googled that, like the carnival that he went to, and I found a picture of a bull at a carnival, and I was like, hey, I want you to use this picture. And so I just figured out where the source of that photo was from, contacted them and say, hey, I'm doing this film. I'd like to use this photo. And they're like, sure. Sometimes they'll even give it to you for free. I'm pretty sure we got that one for free. Sometimes they charge. It really depends, right? So there's a lot of different places that you can get archives. It really depends on what you're looking for, but I'd say just Google, figure out who the source is, and then try to get the permissions. Make sure you have the legal permission. You have to get something signed by them, and yeah, if there's compensation. So there's that. But yeah, universities have archives. The city has archives. So it's just, yeah, it's just a lot of research. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I just want to quickly go through this before we finish up here. So business resources, grants and funding. So on the production side, if you want to develop your company, like I said, I got the powwow pitch fund. I also won the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business Award, the Young Entrepreneur Award, which is $20,000. So in total, I got $45,000 over the past few years and some funding. I also applied through another fund through the Young Entrepreneur Symposium, which was $5,000. So in total, I got like $50,000 in grants, and that's like non-repayable money. So it's nice to look for what grants are out there that you don't have to pay back, because those are the best grants. So yeah, so there's just different things. Like some of these are like, I put the ones that I know of, because obviously I look for a lot of Indigenous opportunities, but there's ones that aren't Indigenous here, like Futurepreneur. They have a lot of funding and grants. Some of them, they tend to be like they'll give you a portion and then you have to pay back a small portion. Yeah, so this is on there. I'm not going to go into every single one, but there's lots of resources here that you can look into. And then creative supports, funding, and broadcasters. So there's the CBC Creative Network. That's a great one for emerging local artists. CBC Short Docs, there's Bell MTS, APTN, the National Film Board, Canadian Arts Council, Manitoba Arts Council, Manitoba Film Music. All of these are great resources. So definitely take a look on there. I'm sure there's a lot more. I just put like good ones for filmmakers on here, filmmakers in Manitoba. So you guys have access to that in your folders. So please check them out because they're great resources, really great resources. So we're running out of time. I was going to try to go into one more thing, I think, but I don't think I have time, but I'm going to just quickly show you because I know somebody asked about distribution. I'm not going to get too far into it, but I'm just going to show you the site that I use for distribution, which I showed you earlier, this trailer for Be Me Batuin. But Film Freeway is an amazing resource. It's for filmmakers who have projects who want to submit them to submit your projects to different film festivals across the world. Let's see, I'll get to the browse festivals. So basically, this is just an online platform. You can create your own profile as a filmmaker. You can upload all your film projects that you have, and you can submit them to pretty much like majority of film festivals across the world are on this platform. So it's like a one-stop shop to be able to upload your project and submit to any film festival in the world. Not all film festivals are on here, but like I would say like 80% of them, that ones that like are really like huge, will be on here. So you can, there's a whole searching criteria, like depending on what your film is about that you want, you know, like the criteria, you can look at that. Entry fees, some of them don't have entry fees, some of them have entry fees. So it's like, how much do you want to pay? Yeah, and so there's all this criteria you can switch. So I tend to look for a lot of indigenous film festivals. So I'll just put Indigenous Film Festival, and it'll give me a whole list of different film festivals across the world that are Indigenous. Doesn't have to be like Indigenous to Canada. It could be Indigenous to anywhere. And then I look like they'll tell you if you can submit, that when the next deadlines are. And basically, yeah, it's an amazing resource because, I might submit to that one. And then if I want to submit, I go to submit now, and I can select any project. So here's the projects that I have on here. And say if I wanted to do Be Me Batuin, I just click on that, pick what it is. It's a short doc and it's free. Oh, I'm going to add that to my cart. That's awesome. Okay. So yeah. And so with your projects, all my films are up here. It tells me like what, like Journey of the Run is 1. You had 2 awards. It was not selected at 5. It was selected at 2. It was a finalist in another one. Gift to Give was selected to 8 festivals, 13 not selected. I got 1 award for that one. So it kind of just shows you everything and shows your submissions. So these are all the festivals that I've submitted to. So Gift to Give, I've submitted to quite a few. And you get a lot of no's, but you get some yeses.
Yeah, I go on there too.
Yeah.
I get mine not selected or selected. I got a few of those.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
amazing. What's the advantage of doing this yourself as opposed to getting someone like the Winnipeg Film Group to represent you?
So I was going to bring that up too, because you can get the Winnipeg Film Group as a distributor, which is great. But I honestly, I don't know what they do. They did get me into a couple of film festivals. But through here, I don't know, I was just able to target where I wanted to send it and what I thought was, and I got my film into more than they did. So I don't really know what happens behind the scenes there and who they target, but here I just love it because I can do it in an instant, and it's like boom, boom, boom. Okay, I'm going to select this one, put it all in my cart, pay for it, and then it's sent. Boom. They have everything they need because I've filled out my projects. And if I click on my project, there they can access the entire film. There they have my trailer, they have my synopsis, they have my poster, they have my bio, they have all my still photos for promotion. Any news articles that were created about my film are all there. Everything is sort of there. And I just have more control and I can see what's happening. Like I know where it's being submitted. I know who says no. I know who says yes. Like it's just more, you're in control. And it's not a lot of work. It's, it's just creating this profile. You just put all the information that you already have. Everything's already there. You just put it on this platform and then just start submitting yourself.
This is incredible. What an amazing site.
It is. I love it. It's super easy. It's just easy to get your work out there and just from one source, because if you have to apply to every festival, over and over again, that I honestly, I don't think I'd be able to do that. I would just give it to a distributor to do it themselves. But this is such an amazing resource to have because it's just a click away. You can submit to anywhere you want.
Oh my God, when I first started making films, we actually got a 16 mil print, and you had to, sometimes you got a beta tape and you would package it all with all your materials in hard copy and mail it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's a lot of work. I can imagine, like, yeah, the budgets for distribution were a lot bigger back then. That's a lot of work. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to share that resource with you guys before we wrapped up, because I think that's an awesome resource to be aware of. And then again, Deandra, this one was for you, but anybody who wants to know more about Indigenous taxes. This guy is who I've been consulting with, Jordan Ulrich. He's from Peguis as well. He has an accounting firm at the Peguis building, and so far of my years of research, he has been the person who has been able to tell me the most about Indigenous taxes and being on reserve and everything. Like, he really helped me understand the best way to go about it. So, and it's taken a really long time to be able to find somebody who knows and understands how it works. So yeah, I would definitely reach out to him if you have questions. And he's really cool because he really wants to support other Indigenous entrepreneurs. So he does a lot of just like advice and consulting for emerging Indigenous, like, for free. So
The next question, when are you heading here to OCN?
you know what? I was supposed to come up there next week, but I had to change plans because we got called to film something in Winnipeg. So I'm gonna have another team coming up there on the 27th and the 28th. They're gonna be filming at the Kikiwak, but unfortunately, I'm not going to that one. I have to go to Thompson instead. So I wish I was there.
Well, hopefully they'll let me know.
Yeah, I definitely will be up there again. I know probably sometime this year, so I'll let you know when I'm able to make my way up there. Hopefully in the summer when
Oh yeah.
see the
nice.
lake. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So any other last questions? I think I went through everything I was supposed to. Yeah, I did. Oh, I didn't go through a lookbook, but I put that in your inside the folder so you guys can look at it. So feel free to take that if like that's on another level of pitching. If you really want to like go all out and show a visual of your whole project, take a look at the lookbook on the resource folder, because it's just basically a visual presentation. So it's basically everything that's on your 2-sheet page, but more visual of what that could look like. I'm just going to quickly show you. So if you do need to go, feel free to go. I'll just show really fast, but oh, there it is. Okay, so this is one that I did for a short film, Gift to Give. I did about a friend and her kidney transplant journey with her father. So title page, kind of show who these characters are and what this is leading into. Logline: a two-spirited daughter discovers she's a perfect kidney donor for her ailing father. By gifting a piece of herself, she hopes to save his life and gain his acceptance. So here's their relationship. So this is like a little nugget. I hope he can accept me for who I am. Synopsis, I'm not going to read that, but and then this is genre comparisons. So you can compare to other films that are similar to what you're creating. I honestly didn't really have much to compare this to, so I just like threw in a bunch of random things. But you want to, what I mean, if you're making a film about like, a certain topic that there's other films out there, then just show that, because then it helps whoever you're pitching to see it's like, oh, okay, so it's similar to this idea. Your main characters, who are they? Show them, give them their bio. So these are the 2 main characters. Here's some supporting characters. So that's their partner, that's their mother. The world. So visually, you want to bring the person into the world that you're trying to create. So I just grabbed a bunch of images that I thought were relevant. So the dialysis center, Winnipeg, hospitals. We wanted to go up to her community, but we didn't get to do that. But Yeah, and then so just little like the look, so you can grab other film like interview styles to kind of show like what you're looking for. And then I just threw in a bunch of just random images. But yeah, so that's like a lookbook. Then you want to have your director's note to your director bio. So there's my bio. Here's my note of why I wanted to create this film. Then you have your other team, the project timeline, and then information on how they can reach you. So yeah, just wanted to quickly share that. Yeah, so that is everything.
Well, that's incredible. So everyone still has access to the Google Drive, and all of these things that Eric has shared with us are in that Google Drive. So you can look at her. The lookbook is great.
Yeah, and those are fun to make. I mean, as long as you have some skills and, like PowerPoint or whatever you use for graphic design, if you do graphic design, or you can, hire somebody to make it, but you don't want to go too, like, it's not always necessary. It's nice to have, but it's not necessary. This was just, I do graphic design as well. So I enjoy doing that kind of stuff sometimes if I want to give a visual representation. So that's something I just found fun to do. So yeah, like you could create your whole lookbook because you and your partner have those skills. But I mean, yeah, for people who don't, like, you don't need to have it. It's just something. It's always an extra. It's just an extra, right? To help illustrate what you're trying to convey in your story. So yeah.
And I guess in a way too, it can kind of act like if you're a person who sort of creates like a mood board where you start putting up the textures of the scene, what kind of feel you want to it, that it will help sort of define your story and what you want to tell.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Does anybody else have any other questions, comments, or anything like that before we wrap up? Stephen? Oh, you're muted. Sorry.
You're muted.
Okay, there we go. I enjoyed just getting this input from Erica. It was really good. I got some points there, more points. And that's the thing is, I don't know everything about it. I don't know. I got my strong points, and I also got my weak points. And this will help me out a lot in the long run. I look forward to, if you have anything else in the future wise, to keep my eyes out for that. Not eye, but eyes. Look forward to other stuff. If there's any other Zoom meetings coming on to Creative Canada, Manitoba, or NSI, I'm looking forward to stuff like that. I'm always open to I gotta keep an open mind. I want to learn more stuff about producing. A little more screenwriting, directing more, and just all these little pieces and stuff like that. It's like juggling around, stuff here and there. Plus with work, and plus with home life and family life. So I'm still thriving out here. It's the thing is, like, here in Nepal, Manitoba, OC in Nepal, compared to Winnipeg is like 600 miles, and sometimes I got to work a little bit harder than usual to try to get stuff out there. Hopefully my project will take off. I'm looking forward to hopefully getting all those, looking through those for fundings, So hopefully, because I don't want to, I don't have the budget, I don't have the money for it, but I have an vision, an idea of what I like.
Yeah, that's
So I just
great.
want to share.
Yeah, no, thank you, Stephen. That's awesome. And yeah, I think we're always learning. Like I by all means, I'm consider myself emerging still, like, and I literally just learn as I go. And same thing as like you, I've just looked for like the different programs, the trainings, and just dove in and try to take as much as I could. That's really like just how I've learned too. And so if you go through that resource, definitely check that out and go on their mailing lists as well, because that's how I get a lot of the opportunities that I find out about, is just by being on their mailing list, because they always send you like what they're doing in their organizations, what trainings they have coming up, what funding opportunities. So you're constantly in the loop about what's happening and what's available to you. Yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
Yeah, and if anyone has any more questions or they want to do some follow-up, you can always contact me at Creative Manitoba to send me an email if you want me to look over something. And also next Wednesday is a free grant writing workshop with funders from the Canada Council for the Arts, the Manitoba Arts Council, and the Winnipeg Arts Council. And it's from noon till 1:30 p.m. and it is free, and it's with the program officers and the managers who run all the granting programs. And they'll be answering questions and helping you go through the process. I know, Stephen, you had mentioned that your film was accepted to a festival in Germany. Is that right? No, Belgium? And so if you wanted to go and attend, you could apply for a travel grant. So through all of these organizations. So this is a good opportunity to talk to the funders and see what they have to offer.
I just want to say thank you. This has been very helpful for me. And thank you, Erica, for your generosity. You were really nice in sharing like all the little detail that's sometimes hard to ask people. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I like, you guys are always welcome to reach out to me. You have my email. So if you ever have a question or just need guidance on anything, like always feel free. I'm always available to just answer anything. Yeah. So don't feel free to be able to do that.
Thank you.
And I'll be sending this recording of tonight's session. I'll be sending it to you all tomorrow, and I'll include Erica's company website and her email, so you can contact her direct. Okay?
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. It was so great to meet and connect with you again. And hopefully we'll all see each other again somewhere down our career paths.
Pitching.
Yes. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.